Recovery doesn't start tomorrow.
Calling all angels.
Recovery starts right now. And here to help is Rated R for Recovery.
Calling all you angels.
Welcome to another edition of Rated R for Recovery, ratedrforrecovery.com. We broadcast each week from the Freedom Clubhouse and the Freedom Studio, located in Southwest Florida at 6313 Corporate Court, Suite 140 in Fort Myers, Florida. Brought to you in part by a number of sponsors, which we'll name two of them now. Sovereign Health is one. See them at sovhealth.com, and The Next Step, NEXTEP. All our sponsors are seen on our website, which is www.ratedrforrecovery.com. We podcast as a podcast every Thursday night from 7 to 8 p.m. and heard round the world on our website, and then rebroadcast at Saturday nights at 10 p.m. on WJBX News, Talk, and More, which is AM 770 or FM 104.3, again in Southwest Florida. I'm an alcoholic that doesn't drink today. I'm a drug addict that hasn't used today. And I'm a dead man that walks amongst the living. All this by no righteous deed of my own, and you can call me John.
Hey, John. I'm just a nice girl who could never say no. My name's Joy. Welcome to the show.
And
Joy.
welcome.
Hello,
Hello, Joy. We have some new flyers that Joy printed up so that we'll get the message out that what we do and where we do it and why we do it. And hopefully you'll be seeing those as weeks to come. We'll get right into the show right now. Please welcome our very first guest to the show. This is Renee. Renee, how long have you been sober?
Well, almost it'll be 3 years in August.
Okay, and that's congratulations to that. We like to go back not as so much as a drug-a-log, but to the point where it got really bad and what type of consequences we suffer when it gets really bad. So, can you take us back to that moment where?
Yeah, it had gotten really, really bad. I was in a very abusive relationship. I was basically kind of prostituting for money for drugs. I did not like how I felt. I felt alone and empty. My parents had cut me off, so I had nobody. And it wasn't until like my third surgery for, I had an abscess. Yeah. That when I was in the hospital, I finally realized that I was in a safe environment away from my ex, and I could get clean and sober if, I asked for the help. So I called my mom and I begged her, and she took me into a hotel until I could get into a homeless shelter to get into a 30 or 28-day program.
Let's go back to the health concerns. Joy, being a nurse, what do these abscesses do to people? Joy?
Oh, you're asking me? I thought we were going to hear from her. Well, if you shoot poison into your veins, it can cause what's it called?
Abscess?
Well, not just an abscess. It can get infected.
An infection?
And if the infection grows and you don't get it taken care of because you're too busy doing dope and falling asleep, it grows and grows, and you can eventually get gangrene and have to have a limb maybe taken off. It just eats through your skin. That stuff isn't supposed to be going into your skin. And every time you miss a vein, there's a chance that that'll be an infection and eat away your skin. And so all these little things that we think are never going to hurt us can add up. And if your immune system is compromised because you don't eat right and, you've been maybe had colds and stuff and you're not taking good care of yourself, you can die from these abscesses.
These infections, before they become abscesses, are they caused by sharing needles or dirty needles, or are they? What is that?
Of course, it can cause of course, that can be true. I don't know a lot of people who've been using for a long time that take really good care of their equipment, but mostly from sharing needles, you're going to get you're going to get disease, you're going to get
Hepatitis
HIV,
C,
you're going to get Hep C, you're going to get the long-term diseases that go along with that. But of course, infections, who goes to the ER to get antibiotics? Nobody I know. They go to get dope.
Right. So Renee, you said you were in an abusive relationship, but yet you were doing things that you would not normally do to get your drugs. How did that play out with your relationship?
I was being forced to, so
Wow,
I
really?
would get beat if I didn't.
So get the money, girl.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
I basically felt like I had no other options at that point. I was too scared to leave.
So when your mother came and scooped you up and put you in a hotel, how did you break away from that abusive relationship?
He was in the hospital, so I was completely safe until I went into the 28-day program, and then of course I was safe while I was there.
Do you think if he had not been in the hospital that there would have been a chance that you would have ended up talking to him and maybe going back?
Of course, yeah.
Well, take us back to that mental state, which is probably in a confused state, and understandably so, that if mom comes and scoops you up and puts you in a safe place, why you would even have any contact with that person?
I didn't after that.
No, you didn't, but Joy just asked you if that...
Yeah, I would have, yeah, because I was in that, whole state of needing drugs. I needed him for drugs, but, it was just caught up in chaos. And
So did you detox in that hotel room?
No, I detoxed in triage, a homeless shelter.
Okay, so what did you do in detox to combat the detoxification process?
Nothing. I didn't go to detox. They wouldn't let me in because I had just had surgery, so...
So you had drugs in the hotel. What I'm trying to get at is if you don't, you're an opiate drug IV user, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you were. And so mom scoops you up, she puts you in a hotel room. She doesn't throw a couple bags of heroin in there with you.
No. The hospital had me on methadone because,
That's-
I had just had surgery. So by the time that had run out, I was already on my way to the homeless shelter. And when I was in there, I did detox by myself. So it was not fun.
And how many days did that process
14.
take? Really?
Yes.
Joy, is that abnormal for that length of time?
Nothing's abnormal. Each person is different. Each detox is different. The longer you live and the more times you try to detox, the harder it gets. I see people in their 30s who are just surprised beyond belief. Well, when I detox, it's usually easier. It's usually, this, and then I'm fine. And I'm like, well, but how old are you? And every year you get older, and every year you get weaker. Every year your immune system is compromised. It gets harder and harder. It don't get any easier.
What type of family, Renee, do you come from?
Very, very good family, actually. My parents are not addicts. I don't know of anybody in my family besides me that is an addict. So I came from a single mother who raised me very nice.
Brothers and sisters?
No, I was an only child.
Okay, all right. And so this relationship between you and your mom, one of the things that we talk about a lot is that the biggest... the sadness that goes along with drug and alcohol addiction is that we hurt the people we love the most and that love us. And your mom must have had a hard time with this.
Very much so, yes. I stole a lot from her, so I did hurt her in all sorts of different ways. It took a long time to get that trust back.
Sure, I could guess why. And go ahead, Joy.
Yeah, I've been sober 20 years, and my mom texted me 3 times today to see how I was doing. And I did that to her. You know what I mean? She just has never gotten over worrying about me. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can say. 20 years of sobriety has not taken away the fear that she has for me. It's so sad.
Well, do you think is your mother a generally worrisome person anyway?
Well, she is, but then I did a lot of that to her too. You know what I mean? Me and my siblings did nothing to alleviate any of that worry in years past.
Unfortunately, I'll have to check off that column as well. My mother died thinking that the situation I was dealing with was something she did wrong, raising us. And
my mom has that now too as she gets older and sits around. And I have told her and told her and told her. She came and lived with me twice for a year when I had cancer, and I had every opportunity to tell her how much I loved her, how much it wasn't her fault, how well I was doing, and how much I owed to her. And she still, as she gets older and sits in her house by herself and has all that time to think, and even though she sits with her Bible, she sits and worries.
Yeah. And I understandably so. Our second segment of our show is on Celebrate Recovery, and they deal with anybody with a hurt, habit, or hang-up. So that's any one of us that are upright and breathing, basically.
Yeah.
And so when I'm sitting in my chair and I'm home alone, then there's John having a conversation with John about John, and that's generally not a good place to be.
Never.
But that's for anybody, and that's probably, you know, what our moms had gone through as well. Renee, this situation started to get a little bit better. You detoxed in triage, and explain to us what triage is.
It's a homeless shelter, basically, yeah.
And how do you get there?
I had to have a friend that you actually had to get through a police escort.
You have to call the cops and say that you're in trouble.
And it's not something where they put you in a limousine where the motorcycle police escort you.
That's what I was just going to say.
And you sleep in a room with a bunch of women.
Really
and,
nice room with a private, TV.
No. Jail food. But I stayed there until I could get in a 28-day program because I really needed the help.
And you really wanted the help,
really
more so
wanted
than
it,
really
yes.
needed the help. Lots of us need stuff.
And
Yeah.
was
Joy?
it the first time?
Yes.
Wow.
This is the first time.
Congratulations for that.
Yeah, it took me years and years and years and years to realize that I was an addict in the first place. I was in denial for so long until I started using needles, and then I was like, all right, this isn't normal. Maybe I have a problem.
And so was your mother supportive of you through this whole process?
Oh, very, yes.
And would she come visit you when you were at this triage place?
A couple times, yeah. She was still very mad at me, but she did come a couple times, and slowly she'd take me out to eat, get some food.
And it's not a fun visit.
No. Nobody wants to see a person they love in any type of dire straits, and
it's just not. It's not comfortable. It's not warm and cozy. It's sterile environment, and it's.
Don't you think it's more so when it's your own child?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And you look around at the other people and you go, "Oh my gosh, what are we doing here?"
Right. So now from the triage, where did you go after that?
To a 28-day program.
And
Straight
what type of treatment was that for you? Educational variety, abstaining from all drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. And I learned, I didn't have any structure. Being an only child with my mom working as much as she did, there wasn't much structure. And learning coping mechanisms, behavioral patterns that I just didn't really know before, things about myself.
Now, and you got sober through a 12-step program, is that correct?
I did. Mm-hmm.
So the 12 suggestion says once we're going through this process that we need to start giving back. Mm-hmm. Did you start that do you go back to that triage? Do you go back to that 28-day program?
I was going back to the 28-day program for a while. I haven't recently, but I have
got some other things going on.
Yeah, a baby. So I have not gone back to triage, but.
Yeah. So okay. So and not that we need to do, and we don't need to carry the weight of the world. And just as far as Renee goes, she said she had other things going on. She had a baby, so that's probably a big life-changing event that happens. What I'm saying is that when you go back to that 28-day program, do you share with the women there some of the things that meant so much to you that you took away from that 28-day program?
I did. I went into the halfway house program that they offered as well. So I would always go into the women's meeting there and, explain to people that I'd been where they'd been, and I wanted to leave a couple times, but I wanted to stay more than I wanted to leave. So, and it was, it's nice to now look back and realize how much, a 28-day program can really help somebody. Me anyway.
Can you put your finger on one or more items or things that you took away from that 28-day program?
I can, yeah. Like I said, the structure, having to be up at a certain time, having to eat at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time, making chores, stuff like that. Stuff I didn't really have to do as a child. That was really important to me. Discipline. And also,
learning to be an adult.
Yes, yeah. Adulting. And also, learning coping mechanisms was a big thing for me because I didn't really know how to cope with much and how to handle it properly. So learning from a counselor how to have these coping mechanisms when something would go wrong still have helped me to this day.
And so now today, coming up on 3 years, you said, of clean and sober living, how is life for you today?
It's great. I had a baby, and I get to be there for him sober. He never has to see me high or drunk, you know? And that's amazing, and it's just been the best.
And what's your relationship with your mother like?
Oh, it's wonderful. Yes.
And she's a grandmother now, so she embraces this life?
Yeah.
And you get to have interaction with her. Does she live close to you?
She does, yes.
So you get to see her for holidays, and you have a significant other. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
And that you're moving forward with that. You have a
Yeah.
home outside of a treatment center, outside of a halfway house.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Things
you're
are
able
great.
to go, and you're able to handle, as they say, one of the sayings is to be able to handle life on life's terms. And we get to that point after some practice. Is that correct?
Yes. It's not easy all the time, but it's, prayer has been a big thing for me.
And the other thing that you mentioned but didn't really say out loud was the support system.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You both talked about it. You didn't really say the word, but you have, you have
Oh, yeah.
support around you.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I have a great support system.
So, if you had something to say to the women that are here in the studio audience today or listening at home, what would be your words of encouragement for them?
Well, you don't have to live how you're living. Being sober is so much more fun than I could have ever imagined. And
Absolutely.
I'm happy with how my life is today, and I never saw that before. I never saw that this would ever happen to me. I never thought I would be the one to be able to get sober.
Awesome. Give Renee a nice round of applause.
Thank you.
We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to Rochelle F. She is the administrator for a local church here, which we'll explain to you when we come back, and head of a Celebrate Recovery ministry that takes place on Monday nights in Southwest Florida. You're listening to Rated R for Recovery and RatedRforRecovery.com.
Welcome back to Rated R for Recovery.
Welcome back to Rated R for Recovery, RatedRforRecovery.com, broadcasting all over the world via World Wide Web and our website, which is www.ratedrforrecovery.com. Now, you hear that song that we play at the opening of our show?
Yes, I do.
And that when we come back from commercials, it is a song written by our friend Charlie Colleen, who
From
is
the
one of the
band
founding
Train.
members of the band Train. And he wrote all the hits.
Drops of Jupiter,
Yeah.
which I love.
Meet Virginia.
Meet Virginia.
Marry Me.
No.
No. Well, you're already married. But those are songs that Charlie wrote. And he re-recorded the song on Martha's Vineyard last year and gave the song to the show to use as our intro and as our what we coming back from commercial break.
What a blessing.
We are selling that song, that version of the song, via our website. There's a link to iTunes. It sells for 99 cents.
99 cents.
89% of that 99 cents, which I'm sure of now, 89% goes to Justice for Vets, and Joy's going to tell you what Justice for Vets is.
Justice for Vets is the organization that helps our service people coming home from deployment who have drug and alcohol issues. And it does happen, and there are many of them, and they need all the help they can get. And so buy a song, spend $1, and do some good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you can't hear our show as we podcast live on Thursday nights, rerun on Saturday nights at 10 p.m. on WGBX News, Talk, and more. Okay, second segment right now. This young lady I've known for many, many years, and has been a champion among women in recovery. And I can't say enough good things, so I'll introduce her, and then I'll say some more good things. Please welcome Rochelle to the show.
Hey, Rochelle.
There is somebody, and I think the gentleman is sitting in the audience, that he says he likes to be there when the light comes on.
Yeah.
And it's the guy that had the baby on his
All
head a minute ago.
I could think of was Butthead.
And so with Rochelle, it is a situation where I've watched this growth to the point where she's a wife, a homeowner, she's a productive member of society, she's a mom. She's a administrative assistant to the pastor at Grace United Methodist Church, the Central Campus. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Oh, that's really good. And then you also, along with the pastor, started a program out of that church that you work on called Celebrate Recovery. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What is Celebrate Recovery?
Celebrate Recovery is a Christian-based 12-step program, and we it's not just for drugs and alcohol. We focus around anything we call them hurts, habit, or hang-ups. We believe that you can apply the 12 steps pretty much to anything that you struggle with in life. We like to say if you're living and breathing, you struggle in your relationship with God, and we can work the 12 steps to improve our relationship with God.
What is a hurt?
A hurt, abuse. And, you've got sexual abuse, depression.
Abandonment.
Loss.
Yes.
Loss.
Yes.
Okay. What's a habit?
A habit, drug addiction, alcoholism, gambling.
So it's an addiction to someone or something.
Yes,
Because
correct.
and then what is a hang up?
A hang-up is
Bad
usually
habit.
or a mental state. As far as our hang-ups, our anger, there's certain behaviors that we have that
hinder our walk with a higher
hinder
power.
our walk with God and other people.
Yeah,
mainly.
absolutely,
Really.
absolutely. Very well said. So this Celebrate Recovery thing, is it just local?
No, Celebrate Recovery is worldwide. I had
Wow.
the privilege, I didn't realize that until I had a privilege of going to a convention, and it's all over the world.
And it was started at a small church in Southern California. Well, not a small
They weren't
church,
small,
but a short.
yeah.
By a guy named Rick Warren. Is that the guy that started it?
Yes.
Okay. And so it has gone and grown since then to be, as you say, worldwide. Is there a format that Celebrate Recovery follows?
Yes, Celebrate Recovery has a lesson or a personal testimony each week. So we do a lesson on one of the 12 steps. And we also have worship. So there's worship every week, and we do a lesson. And then the next following week, we'll do a testimony on someone that has, been relieved of their hurt, habit, or hang-up.
When you say worship, is that music?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, contemporary music. At Grace Church, it's more of a, and I think more globally too. It's more of a modern. It's good rock music.
Right. Okay. So you start with praise and worship. Then you have a lesson or a testimony. And what is a testimony? What do you mean by that?
A testimony, a 20-minute testimony, just like you would see in the rooms of recovery. You hear about the life transformation that God and the 12 steps have done in someone's life.
Very nice.
So they'll tell you about what it's like, what it was like, what happened, and what God has done in their lives through the power of the 12 steps.
Wow. And then there's a third aspect to it, correct? Where they break up into small groups after
Yes.
the lesson or testimony.
Yes.
And these small groups are gender specific, right? Men with men, women with women.
Correct.
Why do they do that?
Because women are, can relate better to women, and men relate better to men, and it's people are more comfortable when you've got a woman in a group with other women. They're more comfortable to speak about what's really going on.
Okay,
so
so
it provides a safe atmosphere for people to share.
In your journey, actually both of you, Joy as well, in both of your journeys through this recovery process, you've both attended meetings that were what do you mean, co-ed. Men and women, and you've both attended women-only meetings.
Yes.
What is, Joy, you first, what is your experience? How does it benefit a woman or a man to be in a gender-specific meeting?
I didn't think I wanted to go and sit with a bunch of women in a meeting. I didn't think that had anything for me. But when I did to take another woman to a meeting, and that's where she wanted to start. And I found that the closeness there of the women who have been where I have been and walked where I have walked, it's a special bond that I just don't have that with men. We can share experiences, but there are things that are specific to women, the way that we go through our addiction and even through our recovery, and the same thing for men.
Did you work a 12-step fellowship, Joy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rochelle?
Yes.
And go ahead. You were going to say about the expounding on the women with women.
Again, I agree with what Joy said, but it really is, there's something about going into a room with another group of women that you really, really relate to. And when I say really relate to, is your feelings, your heart. You can feel what it is they've gone through, and you know that they've been where you've been.
And let me just say, I've seen some commercials on TV lately about sisterhood, and they show young women and they show women, getting together to be sisters, to be supportive of each other. And usually, if you're in the addiction world, you're an alcoholic, you're an addict, you're something like that. Usually, if you're a woman, the other women are more competitive with you than they are sisters and hanging together. And in an all-women's meeting, that's where I get that that feeling that there is a sisterhood among us that that we can share, that's special.
So the competitive aspect comes out because I want to make myself look grandiose for the men. Is that what you think, or underlying?
Perhaps. Yeah, but I don't know exactly if that's what it is, but it's the one-upmanship that comes, and I think men have that too sometimes. You know, where somebody has to be the alpha male. I mean, obviously that's a expression that exists today, to where, you know, somebody wants to be the leader, somebody wants to be the follower, and or you can go into those co-ed meetings just looking for a relationship or whatever it is that you do, somebody to save you. Whereas if you go in with a bunch of women, they can spot that stuff right away,
Right.
and help you with those things.
There's a saying that us men have, that a woman will pat you on the butt, another man will help save it.
Yeah,
So
we
I'm
say
sure
it the same way, the other
yeah,
way around.
Yeah. So now, Rochelle, getting back to you, and how long has this Celebrate Recovery been going on? Yours specifically at the church you work at.
Our specific Celebrate Recovery at Central, this is our 3rd year.
Nice, okay. And is your head pastor, is she involved with that as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, she is.
And do you draw from the congregation itself, the Sunday people that come to worship?
Not really. Not really. I mean, there are people that show up from church, but I wouldn't say that the majority of our congregation are the people that come at church.
I can tell you that one of the reasons it was founded is because, I don't know if it was actually Rick who said this, but a woman that I know said it, is that there were people in churches dying of drug addiction and alcoholism because they felt that if they just went to church, that was going to be better, where history has shown us and science has begun to show us that we need both. We need this fellowship, we need the 12 steps, and then we need to find a God of our understanding.
I'm going to play I don't like to use that. Well, I'm going to play the counterpart to that. Rochelle, you have a significant other that is recovered from this seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, just going by using not so much the 12-step program, but by just believing in this power greater than ourselves and turning my whole life over to that power. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, my husband's life has been transformed
Amen.
with God. You know?
I met him when he first moved to town, yes.
And of course, God is great and God can do anything, but I think that he doesn't do the same thing with each person.
I agree.
Correct.
So,
I totally
let's
agree
go
with
back
that.
to what this show is all about. This show is not to promote any specific way of recovery. We are not affiliated with any group, denomination, sect, organization, or politics of any kind. We neither endorse nor oppose any causes. Our primary purpose is to help everybody else and to share our own experience, regardless of what that experience is.
Yes.
And there is one ultimate solution to this, and that is a power greater than me.
Yes, and I do want to add that Celebrate Recovery is not meant to be your only place of recovery. Celebrate Recovery is not meant to replace any other 12-step program that you are currently attending. We actually encourage you to try both. We can help enlighten more aspects of the steps, but we do not want to replace the 12 steps.
We do Celebrate Recovery in addition to, not instead of.
Yes, correct.
And those of us like myself that tend to be sicker than as time goes on sometimes, that I need a lot.
Well, and whatever works, you know.
And Celebrate Recovery is only two or three nights a week.
Well, and there's the thing about in the 12 steps, the 11th step says to improve our conscious contact with this God of our understanding. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to go where people are learning about God. So, you know, you can do your 10 steps, and then when it's time for an 11th step, that may lead you to a church-based.
I was just going to say, Rochelle, how did you get involved? What drew you to Celebrate Recovery initially before you started the one at your church?
What drew me to Celebrate Recovery, I was led there by my mother a long time ago, but I was still sick. I was totally in addiction, but I knew when I walked through the doors, I had an overwhelming presence of knowing everything was going to be okay. And I could feel that presence inside there. So that was God tugging at my heart. But what drew me to Celebrate Recovery is I know without a shadow of a doubt that God had interceded in my life and made a huge transformation in my life. I'm sitting here today when I should be in prison, you know, due to the power of God that only He could do. And so I wanted to continue. When I got to step 3 and it made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the God that we understand, I wanted to understand Him. And so I picked up that Bible. And so that's where my other aspect of wanting to do Celebrate Recovery came from.
And I can tell you that it shows on you.
Oh, very
It
much
shows-
so. Just
shows
in
well.
your face, and as the years go by, you look better and better. I
And
mean,
it-
you know what I mean by that. 'Cause-
She just, there's a lightness about you and a calmness and a peace about your face.
Yes,
that
because she never used to be be that peaceful. Yes, yes.
that wasn't there a
Yes.
few years ago.
No,
So
not at
Celebrate
all.
Recovery is a way of working the 12 steps along with biblical comparisons. It is a Christian program. Is that clear?
Yes, it is. It is a Christ-based 12-step program.
Okay, so all right, so and it's available. Is there a giant website that if I'm in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, that I can find to Celebrate Recovery
Oh, yeah,
there?
CelebrateRecovery.com.
It's
You
simple
definitely
as
can.
that.
Yes,
And it
simple
will
as that. Put
navigate
your
me
arrow
throughout, yeah.
area in and
Okay,
it'll take you
so now
Can't get you to Broken Arrow though. You got to go to Google for that, I think.
yeah, I just had a friend that used to live there. Anyway, so okay, so now how is Celebrate Recovery growing in your community or in your home church?
In our home church, we've watched it grow as any other recovery. It goes up and down, but it's the quality of life, the people that are in it. You're watching the people's lives be transformed, their relationships with God, and just, like any other 12-step program, we just get to be firsthand witness to
And
watching the light come on.
Something that Renee said earlier about coping skills. Nobody really actually talked about what those coping skills were, but as you go through Celebrate Recovery and they teach you things, and as you go through the 12-step program and they teach you life skills and you learn to cope, and it just makes the world lighter and easier, and we get through it better, and we have the support of people, of like-minded people.
That is for sure. I can say that learning to grow in my relationship with God has taken so much off my chest, because I wanted to be the person to help everything, to do everything. I wanted to be the savior. Everything was on my shoulders and I needed to do. But having a relationship with God lets me know that He's got it taken care of. And I really know that at the end of the day, that all I got to do is put one foot in front of the other, and God takes care of everything else.
What are some of the amazing transformations that you've seen in yourself, in your husband, in your family, and in your own circumstances?
I can say that my life is nowhere near what it was. I mean, I can, as my journey went on, I could look at the difference in what I was in the beginning of recovery and what I was now.
Were you a bad addict? Were you?
I was awful. I spent 7 years trying to get sober before I finally, was able to do it. And I was in and out of the rooms, and I was like 96 pounds, so it was pretty rough. And I was angry. What I've learned through Celebrate Recovery is the coping skills and the way I handle situations is just amazing. And my family, I have a 14 and a 12-year-old at home right now, and over the last 2 years, I could not believe that the kids that they have been, because when I first got them back sober, it was hard. They had been through a lot of stuff, a lot of instability, a lot of anger, and they were hard to deal with. But God has transformed them, and they serve. They run the barbecue team. Life has changed. Their grades are up, the stability, our communication.
And they have a father figure in their life that is a very stable, calm.
Yes.
That's one thing you notice about Rochelle's husband, is how evenly keeled he is, and how calm and how matter-of-fact he is, and I've always respected that in him. Let me ask both of you this question. Life shows up when we get sober, and we can be clean and sober for many years, and then we can have disagreements, and those disagreements probably manifest themselves more so under our own roof, with our own significant others, more than anything else. When you and Art Vandelay, which is Joy's husband, when you butt heads, when you don't see eye to eye on something, how does that? Do you have a system to resolve that?
I can barely remember the last time we had what I would consider an argument, and it was more than 9 years ago, 10 years ago.
Really?
And basically he said, "I'm going to bed." And he kissed me on the head, and he went to bed. And I said, "Well, I'm not going to bed. I'm sleeping on the couch." I said that to myself. And I laid there on the couch, and I was laying on my side and watching TV. And pretty soon I looked down, and I saw a lump in my breast. And that was how I found out I had cancer the first time.
That was 9 years ago now?
Well, or more. And because 5, 8, 9, it was
Whatever
2009
it was. Okay.
was when this happened. And that's the last time that I can remember that we argued, and I don't remember what it was about.
Okay, now that's speaking from a woman who, her and her husband have been sober a combined 40 years. Rochelle, it's not the same situation with you. You're a lot younger. You're newlyweds, basically. You've been married, what, 2 years now?
A year.
A year, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happens at home when that happens with you and Ronnie?
I can say thank God for the 12 steps. He's very level-headed. He doesn't get angry and he doesn't fight. So it's a one-sided conversation. And it doesn't happen that often. I'm truly blessed. I mean, there's not much, there's no yelling in my house. There's not much arguments. But, just the other day, I had an issue. And luckily the thing is I have a sponsor that I will call with everything because I know the problem's me. And so when I'm agitated and I find myself angry and I'm holding on to things or whatever this argument is that I'm having with myself, I reach out to my sponsor and then as soon as I speak it out loud and I talk about it, it's like over with and it just drops. Like it's that. It's like, you know what? I'm sorry. Like I was stupid. Forgive me. And thank God he's got lots of grace.
Nice. The program is Celebrate Recovery. If you are women out there listening at home or here in the studio audience and you want to have a one-on-one with Rochelle, show up Monday night at 6:45. Actually, get there a few minutes early at 6:30. The praise and worship starts at 6:45.
What about the food?
Oh, there's always food.
Well, because you said barbecue team, and I remembered that neither one of you guys mentioned the food.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Celebrate Recoveries food is a very important part.
They have a nice, inexpensive meal at 6, where people can gather.
Feed the whole family for like
you don't have to worry
$5.
about going home and eating and rushing to get there.
Right. So praise and worship at 6:45. Lesson and testimony follows that, then small groups. Give Rochelle a nice round of applause. And we are going to come back from commercial break, and we're going to be entertained by our friend Tim, who's going to do some hip-hop for us. You're listening to Rated R for Recovery and ratedrforrecovery.com. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim and Paul 5 Cent.
All right, we're going to do a different song. This one, when I was younger, everybody told me to get up and go get it. They wanted me to, understand their craft and go get it. And I did. And now they're throwing shade on me. It's crazy.
They told me to go, so I gotta win. Yeah. They told me to get it, I got it, and now they hating on me. Yeah. They told me to go, so I gotta win. Yeah. They told me to get it, I got it, and now they hating on me. Yeah. They told me to go. So I gotta win, yeah. They told me to get it, I got it, and now they hating on me, yeah. They told me to go, so I gotta win, yeah. They told me to get it, I got it, and now they hating on me, yeah. Seen it all before now, talking like you a god now, playing with your soul now, playing with a game. I don't think you truly understand how to plan from the master clever all the way down to the sand. Now, hating on me seems like you got a degree. How in the heck you gon' live without heat? That is a question you wanna ask me. Really, you see it is he without me? I am the fool, I am the one who do not have a clue. I am just lost, looking for love in all the wrong places. I don't know what grace is, replace all this hatred. Please, God, I'm begging that you come and save me from me. I feel like I'm wasting all of my time serving the one I will never need.
Check it out.
The one I will never need.
We follow things that we think we need in life.
God just saved me from me.
one I will never
That
need.
goes
And I've
down.
learned in life that I only need one thing, and that's God.
The one I will
I feel like
never
I need Him sometimes.
And you know how it goes. That slippery slope just slips.
They told me to go, so I gotta win, yeah. They told me to get it, I got it, and now they hating on me, yeah. They told me to go, so I gotta win, yeah. They told me to get it, I got it, and now they hating on me, yeah. They told me to go, so I gotta win, yeah. They told me to get it, I got it, and now they hating on me, yeah. They told me to go, so I gotta win, yeah. They told me to get it, I got it, and now they hating on me, yeah.
Back to the basics, I'm about a racist, full throttle through the wastelands. I'm feeling like a king now, king of the jungle. Who wouldn't win a tussle if it wasn't for the love of my master? He's calling me out of alabaster, mold me, made me a plastic. He's bringing disaster, angels surround me, you never would bang me. I cannot be bald, lessons must be taught. This is a war and it cannot be lost. Playing with fire, burning, what is the cause? Your craft is a gift, appreciate to create a better place and dominate life. You were given to love another brother, sister, that is a kick. A heart condition is a vision. Pray for me on my mission. If I die, that is a blessing. Stopping me is impossible.
Thank you,
Told
guys.
me to go,
Yeah.
I just wrote that song like,
this one.
I don't know, 2-3
This one's
days
for you.
ago.
Told me to
Recorded
go.
it.
Y'all need to love
So
each
I
Came
other.
got
here
up
with
and
y'all.
went.
Come together.
I love every one of
He
y'all.
told me to
If you're dealing with
go, so I got
any
up
type of
and went.
struggle, there are people out
He
there
told
that
me to
will
get
help
it,
you,
I got
love
it,
you to
now
death,
they
and they don't
hating
even
on
know
me.
your
Yeah.
name. And they're
Told me to
waiting to
go.
help you. So
And I got
go
up and
go to
went.
Celebrate Recovery. Go to any meeting. They're everywhere. AA.com. They will lead you in the path of the
Amen.
light. And it is beautiful.